Welcome back, all our 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation to bring you my list. I'll be taking on lane in the next battle report. I'm also going to do something unprecedented. I'm going to make this a short video. I know, I've said that many times in the past. This time, I will keep to that commitment because this list is a lather, rinse, repeat. This is the exact same list that I took into lane in the Votan last week. Did pretty well with it, 92. Good score, good solid score. So we're going to run it again. For those of you who know, Lane and myself will be traveling and doing a GT here soon, so I need to get an army ready. I do have my Grey Knights in the works right now. As you can see here, I am painting purifiers, so we're moving the goalposts along in that, but my Necrons are obviously much further along, so if I can find something I'd really like to play and feel comfortable with, let's go with that. I'm very comfortable with Necron data sheets. I've been running them a lot. It's just a matter of finding a detachment that can play these missions and do well with them. So I switched off the old Canoptek style that I was doing, tweaked it, kept the heart of it in there, and brought the Silent King. So let's take a quick look at this list, talk about how I plan on utilizing it going into the Space Marines, the Librarius Conclave, and yeah, call it a night early. All right, so here we go, Canoptek Court. So the Canoptek Court special rule is I get full rerolls to hit if I'm wholly within a Canoptek control node, Canoptek control matrix. Canoptek control matrix is my deployment zone, no man's land if I control at least half the objectives, and my opponent's deployment zone if I control the objective marker there. Otherwise, all my Canoptek and Cryptek units get reroll ones to hit. So King doesn't get these buffs, but the rest of the army does. So starting off, we have our three Canoptek Doomstalkers. These guys do amazing out of detachment since they have a ballistic skill 4 up. And they usually want to move and shoot, so they're not taking the heavy advantage of very much. So instead, they get full rerolls to hit. This also is a big benefit for their Overwatch ability since they Overwatch on 5 ups and have flat 3 damage. So this is really nice going into 3 wound models to be able to pick them up. Toughness 8, but with a 12 wound and a 4 up invuln makes them surprisingly durable. They can just stop entire rounds of shots into them, which is really cool, and a very, very good long-range threat. Moving on, we have our Canoptek Reanimators. Now, I've mentioned in the past, I don't think the Canoptek Reanimators beam, the reanimation beam, is best suited in this detachment since our reanimation trigger causes us to have to get charged. But these guys are surprisingly durable. They take way more firepower than people want to put into them. They're only 6 wounds and a toughness 6, but they have a 4 up feel no pain and a 3 up save. So these guys can end up surviving much longer than they should, or you have to dedicate way more than you want to just to remove them. Because of that, it makes them really good at doing secondaries that involve actions that might complete into your opponent's turn, like sabotage or recover assets. They do, in the early points of the game, the reanimation beam does help on our base reanimation protocols to be able to get that additional D3 onto some units that might have gotten hit but not destroyed. Like if a Doomstalker gets dropped down to like 4 wounds, we might be able to get a 2D3 reanimation on him and get some health back and get him running. Moving on with our Canoptek units, we have our Canoptek Wraiths. These are the backbones. 2 6-man squads led by Technomancers. 1 Technomancer has the enhancement to allow them to infiltrate. These guys have toughness 6, 4 wounds apiece, 3 up, 4 up invuln, and will have a 5 up feel no pain, making them super, super durable. They do have the not the transdimensional beamer, that's another gun. The particle caster, I believe is what it is. Which is the 3-shot pistol. Pistol is nice so you can shoot in combat that has devastating wounds. These guys also can do fly over mortal wound damage. So the unit they fly over, I could chuck some dice for mortal wounds. And the Technomancers can heal a target for D3 at the end of the movement phase. So heal the Silent King, heal that damaged Doomstalker we're talking about, even heal his own squad if a Wraith got reanimated with like only 1 wound on it. So if I get a brand new Wraith with 1 wound, he can make it a little bit more healthy. Next up, Canoptek Tomb Spiders. So the Canoptek Tomb Spiders, I used to run 6, I'm running 3, and I'm running them solo. These guys, their role is going to be board coverage, and later in the game, attempts to push on objectives where they have 2 D6 shot guns on them that are both blast. So they'll get +1 for each gun shooting. It's not a twin-length gun, and it's not just 1 profile. It's actually 2 separate single D6 shot profiles. And then they hit for 5 attacks. They give a 6-up feel no pain to vehicles, a 5-up feel no pain to everyone for mortal wounds and psychic attacks. And they put spiders back, or scarabs back. These guys have a lot of things that they can do. However, with the current temperature of the meta, I wanted to reduce it down because I don't think they're as efficient. But these guys can do wonders harassing an objective that has a lighter armed unit on it or a smaller unit. They can do really, really well of terrorizing them and getting rid of them, as well as providing buffs in the early points of the game, some good defensive buffs. As mentioned, these guys can put scarabs back, and we do have three-man squads of scarabs. So in the past, I've run 6-mans. We're going with the 3s. Not going to be able to resurrect and reanimate as many because these guys, when they get hit, they'll probably just explode into oblivion. But they do a good job of being able to take objectives if a Cryptek's nearby to give them that OC1, and being a unit that if you pop your head out to take them down, I can probably shoot at whatever popped its head out to take them out. They do some good mortal wound damage where they can explode at the beginning of the fight phase, both yours and mine. So there's some mortal wound damage there. And then, yes, I can put them back with spiders if we're in such a position. These guys do well for zoning because they have a 10-inch move, so they can cover a lot of ground really quickly and just keep the game in front of me, which we'll talk more about that later. And last, the Silent King. Silent King fights on both fronts. He is a guy that can punch in combat. He can shoot very well. He doesn't do well into other super heavy things, toughness 12, big demon Primarchs, and greater demons and things like that. But everything else he can do sufficient damage into. Squads of infantry of all sorts of toughnesses and size he can do very well into, and especially in shooting as well, where he has the rocks, his little Meniers, that do flat 6 damage when they hit. So he is a very, very good weapon in all extents. He does very good in shooting, probably better in the shooting aspect, but he can still hit in combat and keep momentum and keep moving across the field, being a threat that just can take center. And in the late game, if your opponent doesn't really have any weapons to go into him, he can take center and sit there. Now, his abilities, his aura effects, the first one gives reroll 1s to hit and wound to Necron units. Now, granted, the reroll 1s to hit is not good for the Canoptek, but the reroll 1s to wound is actually really, really nice with the Doomstalkers in the early points of the game to be able to make their weapons that much more efficient. We also have +1 strength and reroll charges, which can be nice for the Wraiths. And then we have the ignore modifiers, which can be hilarious in the Death Guard matchup. All in all, I do like the buffs he brings, and I think it helps me push some of my units like the Wraiths just a little bit over the end of that damage column to be able to get a little more reliability out of these things when I need to do damage. Like I said, lather, rinse, repeat. I did a video last week if you wanted to go more into detail with it, but if you want to ask questions in the comment section, if you're curious on why I'm doing certain things, please feel free to ask. A lot of my game plan is to try to keep the game in front of me. Secondaries like behind enemy lines and ones that require me to do things in my opponent's deployment zone to get extra points might be a little bit difficult, but I still have minimal ways I can score it, where behind enemy lines is probably the only one that's really tough. But you're going to have that, and there's going to be cards I'm going to pitch for command points to get command points if I don't necessarily need to score them, or could score them. So there is that possibility. But the goal is to keep the army in front of me, using scarabs and spiders to kind of zone out the backfield so that deep strikers and other units don't really have a place to land. The Wraiths are durable, so they're hard to push through, and it keeps the game in front, where I can then use the Silent King and Doomstalkers to centralize different areas of the map, remove things that I feel like I can safely remove, and then move into those areas with the Wraiths and secure those objectives with a very tough, durable unit. Things like the Reanimators can move up with the Wraiths as well as Scarabs, where Scarabs that then can move over to Wraiths can complete actions if near a Cryptek to get the OC1 and count as a scoring unit, while allowing my Wraiths to continue to defend, do charge into a unit, fend off things, and just all in all protect that objective, since they're going to be probably constantly getting hit once they pop their head out. Reanimator will also be able to assist in bringing guys back up there, being a unit that can do actions as well, and help to move and extend that battle line out. So as we get deeper in our opponent's deployment zone, the Reanimator can go forward by itself, so the Scarabs can kind of zone back, and we can maintain that coverage to just prevent our opponent from up-downing units that can get in the backfield so we can keep the game in front of us, to layer things where the Doomstalkers are able to consistently put threat on the table with their strong overwatch and just their general range and their damage output. And then the Silent King. The Silent King is kind of an aura of threat because of his range. He's 24-inch range. He does have some indirect fire that is nice to have. It's better to not to have than not have. And he can just all around kind of keeps that aura of threateningness that if you're not able to jump out and do sufficient damage to him right then and there, you might have to back off. So he can kind of zone out and protect that area and keep those things going. And when things get tied up by the Wraiths, he can move into a better position, maybe support the Wraiths, or maybe let the Wraiths fall back and he can do the damage because now the unit's sitting right in front of him and he can shoot, charge, and just finish him off. So we'll see. We'll see how that all rolls out. But as I said, I'm going to make this a short video because we are lather, rinse, repeat. And I'm more excited to get this thing on the table because I love my Canoptek Court. And if I got something I can take to a tournament, boy, it'd be nice. Still working on the Grey Knights, but these guys are a lot further along. All right, let's call it a night. Tonight was WrestleMania. John Cena won the title, 17th championship. For those of you who watched and know, for the rest of you, you probably are you just like, oh, okay, wrestling, yay. But I'm excited. It was a good match. Great night, too. All right, that's all before I start nerding out about wrestling. As always, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.